I never thought I'd be the reason our HOA president screamed in the middle of the street because of a mousetrap. But that's exactly what happened. One tiny snap changed everything. It wasn't planned to hurt her, just to make her stop. Because when someone starts stealing your mail and calls it neighborhood safety, you either break down or you bite back. And I was done breaking down. I live in a quiet suburb called Maple Ridge. Picture perfect lawns matching mailboxes, nosy neighbors. It's the kind of place that looks peaceful until you meet the woman who thinks she owns it. Her name's Karen. Mid-40s blonde bob cardigan, always buttoned up, the permanent expression of someone grading everyone else's life choices. When she became HOA president, the rules multiplied overnight. Trash cans must face east. Lawns trimmed exactly 2 inches. No unapproved flowers. But the worst rule wasn't on paper. It was her belief that everything belonged to her oversight. One Tuesday morning, my mailman Mike knocked on my door. He looked half amused, half terrified. You might want to know what's going on," he said. I frowned. "What's going on?" That's when he dropped it. Karen had told him to let her inspect all residents' mail, especially mine. For safety, she said. She even tried to bribe him with $50 to keep it secret. He laughed in her face, but the damage was done. I stared at him, speechless. Who does that? Who wakes up and thinks, "Yeah, I'll play federal agent today." At first I thought he misunderstood, but then I started noticing things. Bent envelopes, opened packages taped shut again, a weird sticky residue on the flaps. Every sign pointed to her. I marched straight to her house. She was in her yard pretending to prune flowers, probably from the community garden she claimed were communal property. "Karen," I said, holding up an envelope. "Why are my letters coming opened?" She didn't even blink. "Maybe your mailman's careless," she said sweetly, the kind of tone that makes your skin crawl. "I know you've been reading them," I snapped. "If you don't stop, there'll be consequences." She tilted her head, smiled that smug smile. "Consequences? Oh, please. Who's going to believe you over me?" That sentence, those exact words, lit something in me. Logic wouldn't work on her. Karen was one of those people who only learned when life slapped them across the face. And apparently it was my job to deliver the slap. Days passed, more tampered mail. Even my Amazon packages looked violated. She wanted to find something, anything, to use against me at the next HOA meeting. I could have gone to the police, sure, but that felt too easy. I wanted her to feel the violation she'd caused me, to know what it was like to have your privacy yanked open and shoved in public view. Still, part of me hesitated. One night I sat on my porch staring at my mailbox under the streetlight. It looked innocent, ordinary, but I'd started to hate it. I felt powerless. I even caught myself wondering if I was overreacting. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe it wasn't her. That doubt ate at me. And for a moment I almost let it go. But then an envelope arrived, half-ripped, containing documents for my new job, confidential ones. Someone had clearly opened it and tried to reseal. That was the last straw. My doubt vanished. I wasn't crazy. I was being watched, violated, and I was done. If she wanted to snoop, I'd give her something worth snooping for. I started planning like a man on a mission. I didn't want to hurt her. I wanted humiliation, poetic justice. I bought a cheap mousetrap from the hardware store and placed it inside my mailbox, hidden beneath a fake envelope baited with an old receipt. Nothing deadly, just enough to make her jump. Then I set up my camera, tiny red light blinking from the windowsill. I rehearsed everything, where I'd stand, how I'd act casual. My heart raced like I was pulling off a bank heist. That morning was quiet, the air heavy with summer stillness. At exactly 10 a.m., I saw her Karen marching down the street in her beige cardigan, clipboard in hand, like some suburban general inspecting troops. She looked around, made sure no one was watching, then opened my mailbox. Snap! The sound was crisp, almost satisfying. Her scream sliced through the cul-de-sac. Birds scattered. She stumbled back, clutching her hand, blood trickling down her knuckles. Then came the wailing, pure theater. "He attacked me. He set a trap. I'm bleeding." Neighbors rushed out in slippers, phones already recording. Mike the mailman stood frozen mid-step, mouth wide open. Karen glared at me across the lawn, eyes wild. "You're going to jail," she shouted. This is domestic terrorism." I didn't say a word. I just stood there, arms crossed, watching her little performance, because I knew I had the footage. Of course she called the police. When the officer arrived, she launched into her story like a Broadway monologue. He said a dangerous weapon I was checking for suspicious mail to protect the community. The officer listened, expression blank. Then he looked at me. I handed him my phone. He watched the clip. Karen glancing around, opening the mailbox, reaching in. Snap. He stifled a laugh. "Ma'am," he said, "you were tampering with someone's mail. That's a federal crime." Karen blinked, trying to rearrange her face into innocence. I was just ensuring neighborhood safety." "Are you with the U.S. Postal Service?" "No." "Then I'm afraid that's not your job." The color drained from her cheeks. For the first time she looked small, deflated. But Karen wasn't done. She never is. She filed a lawsuit, of course. Claimed trauma, emotional distress, permanent injury. When court day came, she showed up in a neck brace, arm cast, makeup thick enough to survive a hurricane. Her lawyer painted me as a lunatic vigilante setting booby traps for innocent women. But then came the video. The moment it played, the courtroom changed. You could hear the quiet click of the mousetrap, her ridiculous shriek, her hand jerking back. People tried not to laugh, but a few snickers slipped out. Even the judge grinned. "Order," he said, but his voice cracked with amusement. "Mr." He looked at me. "This is quite the exhibit." When the verdict came, it was poetic. I was fined a couple $100 for negligent setup of a mechanical device. Fair enough. Karen, on the other hand, was fined $70,000 for federal mail tampering, sentenced to probation, and given a permanent criminal record. The judge looked her dead in the eye and said, "Ms. Karen, next time keep your hands to yourself." The room erupted in laughter. I walked out free, lighter than I'd felt in months. Now every morning Mike waves at me as he drives by, saluting like I'm some folk hero. And Karen. She walks past my house, clutching her mail with both hands like it's a live grenade. The Queen of Maple Ridge dethroned by a $5 mousetrap. Sometimes I replay that sound in my head, the tiny snap that ended her reign. It wasn't just a trap for her hand, it was a trap for her pride. And when it closed, it shut down something bigger than her meddling. It ended her illusion of control. Because here's the thing about people like Karen, they only understand boundaries once they feel them. And sometimes, justice really does come with a click.